Akim, I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Uh, we put this off for a while, right?
I know. So congrats on competing in Olympia. That was a wonderful year for you, a lot of preparation. But before I jump to the questions about Olympia, I wanted to ask you about how did you start in bodybuilding and what led you to become a professional bodybuilder? Or what brought you in the sport? How did you get started?
Well, bodybuilding, professional bodybuilding, or even bodybuilding in general, was never a choice of mine. I used to, when I was in college at the time, playing basketball and stuff like that. I always trained, and one day I was on my way home from school, and back in Brooklyn, and I got on the MTA bus, and back in the days they had the Metro cards. So I was in a tank top and I put the Metro card into the slot, and this lady saw me, and she looked at me and she's like, "Holy crap, look at your triceps." And I'm like, "Oh, thank you." And then she's like, "Do you compete in bodybuilding?" I'm like, "What's that?" And she's like, "You don't know what bodybuilding is?" I'm like, "No, I just work out." And she's just like, "Well, here's my business card and I would like to introduce you to somebody." So I thought it was pretty cool. So I gave her a call. She lives out in Staten Island. About a couple of days later, me and a friend of mine, really close friend of mine, we decided to go out into Staten Island to meet her and the person that she wanted to introduce me to. Turns out the guy that she wanted to introduce me to used to be training partners with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh,
And that guy was also her husband, uh, the late, great Leon Brown. He passed away a couple years ago. So, God rest his soul. But at the time, I got to meet her husband, and him being like just a legend in the sport and everything like that, he took one look at me and he's just like, "Holy crap." He's just like, "Okay, we got to get you on a bodybuilding stage." So that's how I got into the whole bodybuilding thing.
this is unbelievable. So Olympia is the most, I would say, important event in bodybuilding.
hmm
So how did you prepare for the competition this year? Did you do like anything different and compare with the years before, with other years?
Definitely. This year, well, last year, I don't want to jump ahead too quick, but I had a injury. I had a shoulder surgery and stuff like that. So I was out from competing for a whole year. And then fast forward to 2024, I had to overcome that injury and start preparing for bodybuilding shows and stuff like that. So I took a whole year off from the stage. So my training and everything like that was a lot different. I'm the type of guy that goes heavy, hard, and stuff like that. So I had to cut back a lot and do more volume stuff. So my training was definitely different. Also, my coach was different too. So that's some of the stuff that I had to overcome.
Did it affect you a lot to change your coach?
Well, not necessarily. I think it's for the better. I love my coach, Chris Aceto. Shout out to him. Yeah, he's an awesome coach. He's so easy to work with. And it just makes my life just that more simple working with him. As far as the training, I think that was the most difficult in terms of having a style of training, in terms of going heavy and hard. And now, you have to change your whole mentality and do more high reps and more volume stuff. That's pretty hard to overcome.
What is like the most important lesson you've learned from competing in Olympia?
Most important lesson, there's so many of them.
Like,
If
how has it changed your view on bodybuilding and success?
I mean, the Olympia is the pinnacle of bodybuilding. So just making it on that stage is a win. Some people would look at like, "Oh, you didn't place top 10, or you didn't place top 5, or you didn't win." But I've seen so many great bodybuilders that spend their whole career competing and never made it on that stage. So as far as like success and stuff like that, just making it on that stage, and even if you place top 10, top 5, first place or whatever, at the end of the day, that's a win in general. You know?
Indeed, it's a very long way,
hmm
long road to
hmm
get to Olympia
hmm
because you have to do first NPC,
hmm
then to compete for pro card,
hmm
and then from pro card
hmm
to get to Olympia. It takes a lot of
A
years and
lot of years,
dedication.
and not to mention the IFBB just changed the rules. So back in the days, you could have placed top 2, top 3, and get an Olympia qualification. Now you have to actually win a show to get qualified for the Mr. Olympia. So if
Mm.
you're not winning, then you can't be on that stage. So that means that
Gets
you're going
harder
against
and harder.
exactly. You're going against the best of the best.
So after Olympia right now,
Mm-hmm.
do you have any feedback from judges? Can you share this, or there is no feedback?
In the past, when I did like the smaller shows and stuff like that, I used to go and speak to the judges and ask for feedback and stuff like that, which is something very positive. But I feel like lately, like maybe that's something I need to get back to. So after the Olympia or even on, I didn't go speak to any of the judges. I just chalked it up to like, okay, I wasn't good enough, and use it as motivation to work harder next time.
So what do you think you need to improve for next show?
Well, for me, my whole issue with bodybuilding has always been from my back. So like my back double bicep needs to get better. So I've spent my whole career basically chasing that turn around, hit that back double bicep, and then it's lights out. And I sometimes I feel like I'm on and I got it down, and sometimes I feel like I missed the mark. But I think that's been my Achilles heel, like my back double bicep. So something that I'm still motivated and still, working my ass off to, perfect that pose, so I haven't quit. I don't think there's any quit in me. I'll still go in the gym, bust my ass every time I train back, and just try to perfect that pose to the best of my ability.
So what do you think, in your opinion, the hardest part of preparing for competition? For the show?
A lot of people would say is dieting. Some people would say cardio. For me, I think it's the process of drowning out all the distractions and stuff like that, stuff that would get you to like, get away from your goals and stuff like that. So to me, the dieting, I don't have a problem with it. The cardio, I don't have a problem with it. But every once in a while, certain distractions would pop up, and I think that's the hardest thing to overcome sometimes.
The distraction.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, distractions that would like just make you lose your focus.
I have a friend. He's an artist. So every time when he posts on IG, he tells me, I just post and I leave. He's like, I don't want to look to anybody else's posts because I try to think a lot right away. What's this person look like? What are they posting? Are they better? Like I start to compare myself. So he leaves social media to avoid the distraction right away. I'm like, wow, this is a great advice. Like you have to really control the information coming in and out.
Yes.
In your brain. Yeah.
And this whole age of social media and people commented, and people are so like free to comment on your stuff even when they haven't even accomplished anything. And you being that person that if you're very fragile, you take those comments to heart, and next thing you know, it's messing with your mental, So for me, I've never been one to like care about the social media comments. Like I would read it, laugh at it, or even like go snoop on the person's page and see what they look like and just get a kick out of it. But it's never like got me to the point where I'm actually like thinking about losing sleep over somebody's comment. I have one rule, and I always say it: if you're not paying my bills or whatever the case may be, then your comments don't mean shit to me. I've always stuck by that.
That's a very good rule. So I remember sometime in 2014, 15, when you've been posting more and more your preps, you had a lot of negative comments, and we even DM'd to each other, and I was like, I can't believe people write you this, like, don't pay attention. And you send me back, Jenya, you just cannot imagine how much negative comments I get. Right now, when I look to social media, I'm like, oh, okay, he's not getting those comments anymore. Like very rare, one person maybe say something absolutely irrelevant. Makes no sense what they say. But it changed a lot in these 10 years. And I'm sure that right now is not even important to you, mostly thinking about, okay, maybe the judge comment will be relevant, right? Your coach, or maybe something you say to yourself, like the professional opinion matters, but the negativity on social media, like you do not react to it anymore. So how did you become like mentally tough to don't react on those comments?
Because there's a few times I remember, I'll give you an example. I think it's actually this year actually. I was getting ready for the Arnold Classic in Ohio, and we did this little preview with Generation Iron where, we did a workout, and I took my shirt off and I hit some poses and stuff like that, and we posted it. And for the most part, there was a lot of positive comments, but there was this one guy that literally said like, yo, he's going to be dead last at the Arnold. And I'm like, wow. And that comment stuck with me. You know, I thought about it for a while. I'm like, what? Just from just like looking at that one little preview, that's what you had in your mind? And it's funny because somebody tried to defend me and he went into a whole spiel about why I'm going to place dead last. And fast forward, after the show was over and stuff like that, I think I came in 5th or 6th or something like that. I made top 6, I think. Yeah, I was in top 6. And that person literally deleted everything. They even like turned off their social media. So I got a kick out of that. And that goes to show you, like, if you let people tell you what you can't or can accomplish, you will never get anywhere in life. And that's something I've always stuck by. Like, I would not ever in my life to have somebody tell me what I can and can't do. You know, I always hold it like this is my life and I have full control over it. And I decide where I want my life to go, you know?
I agree with you so much because I remember even from my life experience, if I would listen to every person what they say for me to do and not to do, oof, I don't know what I would be.
Exactly, yeah.
Impossible to do that. So, okay, taking negativity from somebody else is one thing. But what about when you criticizing yourself? That's another thing, when you self-doubting. So I'll give you an example. Last week, I went to a jam session with musicians, right? So I come on a stage, we're playing, I'm singing a song, I finished it. Some of the musicians like, oh my God, you sounded great. It was so good. You know, like they're so happy they played. And I'm like, yeah, thank you, thank you. Okay, then I come back to the bar station, right? And I sit down and I start to say to myself in my mind, Jenya, what was that? Who starts a song like that? You say, you should sing strong, like you should come out like strong with open mouth. Like, now you say, and then like, why did you take bridge that high, that low? What is wrong with you? And I criticize every single thing about this song, and I'm like, oh my God. Then the video comes in because my friend's recording, and I'm looking at the video, and I'm like, you couldn't dress better? Like, what is this belly coming out on the video? Like, you can't even post it right now. So everything. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing to myself? And then I say, stop. You can't criticize yourself so much. This is just a jam session. It meant for you to play, to like rehearse, to practice, to meet musicians, to have a joy by the end of the day. Like, you can't do this to yourself. Like, just stop, live a life. Live a life. It's not that serious. But because you're trying constantly to be better, to be like good enough, to like succeed, to practice like to the point that you're mastered it, you know, you constantly give yourself these crazy thoughts like, do better. How much better should I do? How much better? And this voice is sometimes so hard to just shut it off. So you have to learn how to just refocus quickly at the moment you start like criticize yourself and doubt yourself. So bodybuilding, I see it's kind of similar to the artists. As we spoke earlier, like in our conversations, I feel like it's very similar in a way that there is no clear path for bodybuilding how to succeed. There is no clear path in art how to succeed. And the self-doubting, because it's kind of you selling your own skill, it can really ruin you from inside. So basically, you are the worst enemy to yourself by self-doubting and criticizing. And for you, it comes to your own body.
True.
Like for me, is my voice. It's not something I made a t-shirt and like somebody doesn't like my t-shirt and I'm like, okay, I will redo design. This is your body. This is my voice, right? So it's like, it's something, it's not a product you created. So that's why I think it makes it harder mentally to stop like doubting yourself and criticizing. Like, what do? You have to go on a stage. I'm sure you go through a lot of things. I don't know, the posing. Like, I'm sure a lot of things go through your mind. Like, what do you do?
I mean, for bodybuilding, even though it's an individual sport, but it's also a sport where you actually need support, and having a great support group is definitely beneficial to your success. For me, I always like to find people that are actually more knowledgeable than me. Like, i.e., try to get a coach that knows more about it than me, So that when you get to that point where you start doubting yourself and stuff like that, you have their eyes to see what you don't see and to tell you like, okay, Akim, like you're tripping. Calm down. You look amazing. Just to give you that calm spirit. So for me, I have my coach, but I also have friends that whenever I'm prepping for a show, I would actually send them photos and stuff like that to get their feedback and stuff like that. So that's always helped me to stay grounded and stay focused, you know, because I need somebody's honest opinion. Like just because we're friends doesn't mean you got to sugarcoat it from like, if I look like crap, tell me I look like crap. So I'll work harder to get, you know, where I need to be, you know. But for sometimes you have friends that are scared to tell you like, hey, you don't look good, you know. So they would just be like, yes people, like would just tell you like, yes, yeah, you look amazing, like stuff like that. I don't need people like that. I want people that would be honest with me. You know, if I look like crap, tell me I look like crap. So I would actually like work harder to get better.
So when you compare their opinion with your own self-criticism, does it match?
No,
or no?
No, it doesn't match at all. Exactly, yeah.
That's
and
what I'm saying. It's like you're your worst judge because it doesn't match.
That's how you overcome it. Because, like, for example, you said with your story, people were coming up to you and telling you, "Oh my God, you sound amazing," and you couldn't just take that and just run with it, but you started doubting yourself. When others look from the outside looking in, looking at you like, "Holy crap, like you sound really amazing." Same thing with the whole bodybuilding. Like, I would like take pictures sometime, and I would like, that picture don't look good. And then I post it on social media and it gets more comments, more likes than anything else. But in my head, I'm like, that picture didn't look that good. But people on social media love it, you know? So that's one of the ways that you overcome stuff. Like sometimes it's good to get a little bit of an outside opinion, you know, because it boosts your confidence.
The next topic I would like to discuss with you is your shoulder injury. So I think it will be very useful to hear from you what happened to a lot of your followers and actually people who compete and they had some injuries and traumas. I myself went through a terrible ACL injury after skiing accident, and I couldn't exercise for about a year properly, and I thought, this is it, this is the end. And I know it's very hard. So for you, it's especially hard because you are an athlete who competes and you're in the process, so you had to slow down. And I only can imagine the mental stress you went through because you had to take a pause for a surgery. Could you a little bit tell about it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's ironic because, you know, you think that you're a bodybuilder and stuff like that and you get injured, you probably get injured in the gym. But my injury was not from the gym, actually. It was from a car accident. You know, I was on my way to training the client and the traffic had stopped. And this guy, you know, he was dropping, I think it was his sister-in-law, he said. He was going to take his sister-in-law to the airport, so he was rushing. So he was kind of speeding, and at the same time, the traffic slowed down, and he couldn't stop in time. So he literally ran-ended me, hit me so hard that he pushed me into another car. And from that aspect, with me, my hands being on the steering wheel and stuff like that, the impact and everything like that damaged my shoulder. After going through the whole process and getting the surgery done, I know I need to get the surgery done because, I mean, this is my career. You know, I can't train on busted shoulders and stuff like that because it was just going to get worse. So I got the surgery done. But the hardest part was knowing what I used to look like before the surgery and seeing what I look like after the surgery and wondering in your mind, would it ever come back? Because, for example, you have a bodybuilder like Dennis Wolf, who was at the top of his career before his surgery. And then he went and he got the back surgery, the neck surgery, I think it was. And he was never the same. He literally retired from bodybuilding after that surgery. So I started thinking about stuff like that, or even Ronnie Coleman after his surgeries and stuff like that. And I'm like, shit, like, I know I need to get this surgery done, but would it like affect my career, or am I ever going to be the same? And after the couple of months of downtime and like not training and stuff like that, and you start losing muscle and stuff like that, then you look in the mirror and then you don't see the same person in the mirror, and then you're just like, like, okay, we need to start back up, we need to rebuild, and how are we going to accomplish that, and is it ever going to be the same? So I think that was the hardest part to overcome, like trying to visualize what you're going to look like after everything is said and done, you know, when you get back healthy and everything like that.
So after surgery, you obviously have been going through physical therapy, right? How long was the physical therapy, if you don't mind sharing?
It's definitely a couple months. I want to say like 5-6 months, or even a little bit more than that. I mean, I got to say huge thank you to Dr. Gary Ashenoff out there in Montclair, New Jersey. He was very, very important in terms of getting me back healthy, in terms of getting me back into the gym and stuff like that. You know, he definitely worked with me very closely to get me back in tip-top shape.
That's interesting because when I had my ACL injury and I came in, I had a great physical therapist. I told him right away, listen, I'm exercising like 6 times a week. Like I cannot, this is just ridiculous. So I have been spending at physical therapy 3 to 4 hours, 3 times a week. Plus I did some stuff at home, right? But usually, as I know, physical therapy takes like what, 1 hour probably? But I've been there 3, 4 hours. So I think it's very important to have a very good physical therapist who understands that you are an athlete. You actually need a completely different program to recover. Did you have that?
Yes, yes. See, that's why I said I got to give him praise, Dr. Gary. Like he went above and beyond to make sure that had like full range of motion and stuff like that, and I'm able to use the shoulders the way I need to do, basically to keep going in my career as a bodybuilder. You know, I have to say, like I am truly grateful to him. I think if it wasn't for him and his skills and teaching me little tricks and stuff like that, just to get my shoulders and the mobility stronger, I don't think I would be able to overcome some of the stuff that I did, you know?
How do you prioritize rest and recovery in your training?
Like, you know, you said there is no blueprint or there's no handbook to basically determine what to do, especially like in something like bodybuilding or even like in artists. For me, rest and recovery has been something I've been working on my whole career. You know, I could tell you like, okay, you got to do like 5 days on, 2 days off, or 6 days on, 1 day off to rest and stuff like that. But it all depends on the person, man. It all depends on your physical abilities. Like some people could keep going and keep going and keep going, and they don't need that amount of rest. And some people, you know, they do 2 hours in the gym, they got to take a day off. So you as a person, for the viewers out there, you got to know you got to basically understand your body, know your body, and know what will work for you, because every single person on this planet is different. You know, I can't just because something worked for me, I can't say, hey, try what worked for me and it's gonna work for you. You know.
But I hope we can agree on one thing: sleep.
Yes, sleep is very important. Very, very important.
That's my favorite. I had to cut caffeine completely because even 1 cup a day, and I'm like 11 p.m. I'm like la 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 la. Ships 1, 2, 3, almost 4 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, so the caffeine is like not working. But anyway, the sleep is very important.
Yeah,
I feel like sleep
is the most important thing, especially like for bodybuilding, for building muscle and stuff like that. It's one of the most important things you could do, because without that recovery time, you know, you're just wasting time in the gym.
Any steps you take to prevent injuries in the gym? I mean, when I see your social media and all those plates, I'm like, damn.
I mean, I've been blessed. I'd definitely say I've been blessed with like unbelievable strength, especially when it comes to like, you know, squats, deadlifts, even bench press and stuff like that. But, you know, now that I'm getting up there in age and stuff like that, I've found this little trick called K-tape.
Oh yeah, that's the favorite question on your Instagram right now. They're just bombing you with this. What is this tape for? Yo.
So yeah, I mean, if you guys follow my Instagram, you'll see that I use a lot of K-tape and stuff like that. I just use it more for like, you know, stability stuff, in terms of it's anchoring from your chest muscle to your shoulder muscle. So that way, you know, you constantly have like something to anchor you and keep you stable. So it's a lot better to prevent like injuries, or even if you have a little nagging pain and stuff like that. So the K-tape, it works, you know, and I swear by it. And if you guys are welcome to try it, and when this video goes up, you want to leave a comment or let me know if you tried it and if you like it and stuff like that. It's definitely been amazing in helping me out to stay healthy and stay injury free.
What about warm up before you get to a training process? Like it's supposed to help you to prevent injuries too, right? So warm up, and what do you do for warm up?
Well, I mean, light sets and stuff like that, or even do a little bit of cardio and stuff like that. You could do that too, but I'm old school, man. I go in the gym, I want to hit the weights right away, you know? I don't want to go warm up on the bike or all this stuff like 15, 20 minutes and then get into your workout. I want to get in the gym and start lifting right away. So maybe it's going to be my downfall, but when it comes to the warming up stuff, I never practice it.
Maybe your body used to it already
Yeah.
because that's the way. But I noticed when I warm up a little bit, aerobic exercises, you know, like stretches and stuff, I can lift heavier and it works better for me when I'm warmed up rather than in compare with when I'm not.
You see the difference between me and you? You stay away
Well,
from the caffeine, and then once that pre-workout kicks in, I gotta go.
oh my God. So, dieting, right? So, how do you manage your macros? What's in your diet? Like, I know the protein have to stay high. We can't touch protein. What about fats and carbs? Do you higher in carbs and low in fats? Or do you higher in fats and low in carbs? Or do you have everything like in moderation, the same amount? Like, what do you do?
After a lot of years of doing this thing, I've finally found out that my body does not work well with fats at all.
Ooh.
So I stay away from whatever I do, my fats is very low. As far as carbs, I'm not carb sensitive, so I could eat some carbs, but it can't be too much. So like you said, the protein got to be high, carbs is moderate, and the fats is very low. And I think that's a formula that's been working really well for me, you know, since I've started using that. High protein, moderate carbs, and low fats.
What are your calories per day? Off season. Like when you don't have to compete.
In the past, I mean, at my heaviest, back in the days when I was really big, I used to be around like 320. I used to try to do like around 10,000 calories a day. But now I try not to get past like 280, 285. So I want to say I'm keeping it like between like 5,000, 6,000 calories per day.
Per day.
Yeah.
And how much fat is in grams per day? About.
Very low,
I just want to understand what is the low
Very
fat
low.
for you.
To me, like me eating 2 egg yolks in the morning, that's very low fat to me. And that's all the fat I would do. Like let's say I eat like 10 eggs, I would put like 2 yolks in there, and that's the only amount of fats I would take in for a day. Yeah.
Okay, so it's very low.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But you loading on carb well.
Yeah, I would eat like 8 ounces of carbs, 8 ounces of potatoes and stuff like that, oatmeal and stuff like that, and my body works fine like that. Yeah.
What is your favorite cheat meal?
So
I shouldn't tease you because I know you have Romania coming up.
I'm gonna tell you a funny story. So I just did the Mr. Olympia, and we stayed. Mr. Olympia was taking the host hotel for the Mr. Olympia was called Resort World out in Las Vegas. So while I was in Resort World, I was thinking the whole time, I'm like, damn, like I love Junior's cheesecake, strawberry cheesecake.
Oh,
yeah, that's my favorite cheat meal. So I'm like, damn, I would have to drive to the city after the whole Olympia and make a trip to Junior's in Brooklyn or even Manhattan and get a strawberry cheesecake. So I'm walking through Resort World, and all of a sudden I seen the orange stripes, and I'm like, what? They have a Junior's restaurant in this hotel? Lo and behold, there was a Junior's restaurant in this hotel, and they had strawberry cheesecake, they had the red velvet cake, and they had all that stuff. So I was able to, as soon as the Miss Olympia was over, I was able to go to that restaurant and get me a slice of cheesecake, which I thought was really cool. So I didn't have to take a trip.
Great location.
Yeah.
Dream come true.
Yeah. I didn't have to take a trip all the way back to New York and get a cheesecake, yeah.
So what does your current split looks like in your training?
I like to follow a push-pull movement. So let's say Monday I train chest, which is a pushing movement. Tuesday I would go back to back. I would train back, and then Wednesday I would do like a lower body movement, which is legs, and then go back to a push movement, which is shoulders, and then a pull movement, which is back again, and then repeat with legs.
So legs twice a week,
twice a week, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And back twice a week, because one of my weakest body part is my back. So I've been trying to train it a little bit more frequently. So I try to train back at least twice a week also.
So how do you determine that back is your weakest?
I mean, some people will look at my back and they're like, wow, you got an amazing back. But from getting feedback from like, judges and stuff like that, they've always said like, hey, Akim, like your back double bicep needs to be a little bit tighter. Your back double bicep needs, to be a little bit more impressive and stuff like that.
Oh.
So at least I'm honest about that. Some people would like look at the physique and said, hey, I got no weaknesses. But to me, like as a bodybuilder, you're always chasing perfection. There's always something that you can't improve,
What is your favorite cardio to do and the least favorite cardio? I hate cardio.
I love, to me, I get my best thoughts in doing cardio. Like I tend to like just like it just opens up certain things when I start thinking and start like planning stuff. So I love that part about the cardio, and it's also a great way to start your morning. Also, for me, getting on the stairs for like an hour straight, yeah, nothing beats that. You get to really like get into your emotions and think and process stuff and stuff like that. And it's always been very beneficial to me.
Stairmaster.
Yeah, same answer. Yeah,
What about steps?
I like the steps too. They're
No,
pretty
I
good.
mean like doing steps, just
Like
walking a
walking up
lot.
steps?
Yeah. No, just walking a lot, like
Yeah, yeah,
counting
yeah, yeah,
steps.
yeah, yeah.
Because I recently
Mhm,
count all
mhm,
the steps. I
mhm,
love it.
I mean, it's not a bad way to do cardio, but it's not like a steady state, because then you got to keep that pace, especially if you're on the stairmaster. It's like constant pace the whole time. When you're walking, you might get distracted, and next thing you know, you're looking at something, your pace slow down and stuff like that. So that's why I like the treadmill or the stairmaster, because it's constant pace. Like it doesn't matter, you have to go at that speed. But when you're walking outside, you're running outside. Sometimes you get distracted. Sometimes you got to stop for a second
Yeah.
because you got to wait for traffic and all this other stuff. So it depends on the person. Some people love running outside. I like the same answer.
So the closer you get to the show, do you decrease your cardio or do you increase your cardio?
Sometimes I got to increase it. It all depends on how
Increase.
you're looking. Yeah. There have been times where, I was doing a lot of cardio in the beginning of the prep, and then towards the end, it dropped down to like 30 minutes. I remember there was one time I was getting ready for the show, and my body it wasn't responding the same way, and we had to start doing like about 3 hours of cardio.
To push, to move.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that was the most cardio I ever did in my life, was 3 hours a day.
That's
Yeah,
exhausting.
yeah, yeah. That would definitely make you hate cardio.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you is posing,
Mhm,
because posing is very important part of the show.
mhm.
You have to create your routine. Like, how do you do that? Do you have somebody who helps you to create your routine for posing? Do you just do it from, I don't know, like pre-movements, and you just figure it out the best way? How many days a week you do posing? Do you try to hit posing every single day? I don't know.
In the past, I've worked with people that help me with posing and create like posing routines and stuff like that. But now I tend to do most of the stuff myself. And one of the great things of working with my new coach, Chris Aceto, we do pictures every day. I gotta go take pictures every day. And that basically has helped me to perfect my posing a lot more. Because while I'm taking the photos and stuff like that, I am practicing posing and getting better and learning my body and learning which pose looks better on my body and stuff like that. So I think that has helped me a lot, just continue doing posing for the whole prep every day. Yeah. It makes you more comfortable, and it makes you understand your body a lot better.
How long does it take to practice posing?
I try to do at least like an hour and a half every day.
Hour and a half
Yeah.
every day. Do you do it after workout?
No, I do it before I work out.
Before
Before the
workout?
cardio, yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of guys in the
Mhm.
gym, they're doing it like after workout. Let's
Mm-mm.
say they finish workout and
No.
then go and pose.
Because the moment, the time you look the best in terms of like how conditioned and stuff that you are is as soon as you get out of bed. So whenever you take photos and stuff like that, you want to take them as soon as you get out of bed. That's when you look your best. After sleeping 8 or whatever amount of hours that you slept, the body's well rested and the muscle is separated and stuff like that, and the blood is chill, so you see more cuts and stuff like that. So you want to do that before you start doing cardio and pumping your body up and heart rate up and all this other stuff. And next thing you know, the cuts don't look the same. That's why, if like, for example, when you're doing a bodybuilding competition, a week before the show, you don't train the legs at all, because you want to get the least amount of blood in those legs so you can see all those cuts and separation and stuff like that. So it's the same concept. The less amount of blood that you have in the muscle, the more you're gonna see more definition and stuff like that.
That's interesting. For
Mhm.
some reasons, I always thought that, like before you go on a stage, you're
Mhm.
supposed to like pump yourself,
Yeah,
right, to get the
mhm.
definition.
But
But
you would never pump up
with,
your legs, because the
oh,
minute you start pumping up your legs, you start losing definition in them. Yeah,
oh, very
yeah.
interesting. Hmm. So with the training and posing,
Mhm.
plus, work you have to do and dieting and prepping meals, like how do you balance it all with your relationship, with your family, with your home, friends, being social? Do you have to actually isolate yourself for a little bit while you're on the prep? Or you are able to do everything? It's just a matter of time management.
Time management is definitely important, because you just because you're competing and stuff like you just don't want to alienate everyone, and then after the show is done, you expect them to be there to support you and all this other stuff like that. So you still have to include people. Like I don't just cut anybody off because I'm doing a show and stuff like that. Because of course they understand it, but at the same time, they're looking at you like, yeah, your show is important, but you still have certain obligations to fulfill in terms of family, in terms of relationship and stuff like that. So you don't want to just I totally isolate yourself, and then once the show is done, you want to come back like and think like everything is going to be cool, because some people take that to heart. So you have to have a balance. You have to have time management. You have to know, okay, X amount of time to spend in the gym, X amount of time to spend with family members and stuff like that. So if you could get that balance, it's a lot easier to do it.
So, since I have a lot of friends who used to compete or they still competing right now,
Mhm.
and I have been competing myself too, I know that this is actually a huge issue in this sport, that when you go on a prep and before you get ready for the show, and like you socially get cut from everyone. Like you can't really go to the restaurants to eat food like everybody else, like you start feeling bad about it. So it's like it affects you a lot of mentally. So in your opinion, it's time management. Like you have to be better with time management to be able to, and do not cut people. Like
No, yeah,
keep it the
yeah, yeah.
same.
I mean,
Like it's a wrong step to do to cut yourself off from
Yes.
communication,
Yes.
from, I don't know, going to somebody's birthday just
Yeah.
because there is going to be a food and you feel like you're
Exactly.
tempted to something. You
I-
shouldn't do that.
No, you shouldn't. You could still go to the birthday party and stuff like that. There are times where I've gotten invited to restaurants and stuff like that, and I went to the restaurant. Doesn't mean because I'm dieting for a show I have to go order something from that menu. I could ask for a glass of water, or ask for a diet soda, or ask for a salad and stuff like that, and still have a great time. I wouldn't let that affect me or basically have it jeopardize my prep. But at the same time, I think what the person is requiring from you is just your time to like just, hang with them, or basically just be in their presence and communicate with them and stuff like that. Doesn't mean you have to eat the same thing that they eat and stuff like that. I'm sure if that's your friend, they would understand like, hey,
Yeah.
my goals are important. I'm getting ready for a show and I can't do the same thing that you're doing right now, but I could still be here with you and, communicate with you and have a great time with you still, just not eating the same thing that we eat.
I have one question. Like if you don't want to answer, you don't have to. We can cut out completely. Do you think in a life of competitor, right? The person who competes actually, it is very important to have a right partner, a right friend, a right lover, wife, husband, whatever it is, right? A right partner when you competing,
Definitely.
because it's such a hard
Yes. Definitely.
pass.
It's definitely, that is very important for somebody that accepts or understand what you're doing or what you're trying to accomplish. Like if that person don't respect what you're trying to accomplish, or don't understand it, or don't care enough to try to understand it, then how can you expect some kind of support from that person? And anything they do is going to sabotage what you're trying to do. So like, let's say you're in a relationship and you're getting ready for a show and you have to diet and stuff like that, and that person keep bringing like strawberry cheesecake or apple pies and all this other stuff around you, and expect you to like, you're like, nah, like it doesn't mean that you got to eat all that stuff, but at the same time, at least be a little respectful of what I'm trying to accomplish, or in general, like, they start complaining, oh, you're spending too much time at the gym and stuff like that. This is what I do for a living. This is how I make my money and stuff like that. You have to respect it, or at least try to understand it. And if you don't have that in the partner, then don't expect that relationship to work, because they would not be there to support you versus like, or basically you supporting them at the same time. You guys gonna be clashing the whole time. Because I've seen, like, I'll give you a perfect example. I was training this one client and he was getting ready for a show and he was looking amazing. But his wife, she started like tripping, and she's just like, yo, like you're spending too much time at the gym. Like, I don't like it. So she's like, we need to spend some time together. And then he was at least like 3 weeks out from a show, and she booked a trip for them to go somewhere in Utah. And he got like 3 or 2 weeks left. And he's just like, she booked a trip knowing that I got like 2 weeks before I get on stage. And she wants me to go out to Utah with her to like on a vacation. And he's just like, I can't say no because that's my wife. Because if I say no or whatever, then my marriage is going to be in jeopardy and all this other stuff. But at the same time, he really didn't want to go on the trip because he was so focused and he was looking so good for the competition. But she didn't understand that. She felt like, okay, just because you're dieting for a show, you could still go on a vacation and go on this trip to Utah and like stay away from the gym and stuff like that. So that was really hard. And I felt for him. And he can't go to her and talk to her, but of course, me being his trainer, he could basically be honest with me and tell me what he's feeling inside. So I really felt for him, but at the same time, I know that's his wife, and he's still obligated to go on that trip with her because at the same time, she knows he's doing the show, but at the same time, she don't really understand it. So
Yeah, I think it is very important to have a partner who actually have not the same goals as you do, because you maybe have different professional goals, right? But at least have the common interests. You have something to talk about and support each other. It is very important indeed. And especially I feel like it is very important in those professions like bodybuilding or arts. I have to say that because it is not the same to be a professional athlete and artist as, let's say, when you have a more stable professions, right? Like, I don't know, lawyer or finance. It is not the same. It's a lot of ups and downs. It's a lot of things of which are not going the way you want to go because there is no plan. Like, you just go and you're trying to figure it out. And it's not an easy for a partner to support if the partner doesn't understand completely what they're trying to achieve and you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I feel that. So I have a few questions left from the followers and fans on social media, and I'm actually going to read that. So the first one is, what was the driving force that kept you locked in chasing yaw gains? Okay, it was written like that, yaw gains.
For me, I've never been or try to be like anybody else, man. I've always tried to be my own person. And one of the things that I've looked at in life is because I don't know if you ever heard the saying that within your generation, basically the people that know you, after you're dead and they're dead, nobody's going to know who you are. And the only way you could basically cement yourself into like immortality and stuff like that is basically making history. So doing something that nobody else has ever done before. And once you are able to make history, like, you could say that basically your name is going to live on forever. So that's how I've always viewed myself. And one of the ways I felt like I could do that is basically by doing great stuff in bodybuilding, whether it's winning shows or basically trying to break a record in terms of powerlifting and stuff like that. And I feel like if I'm able to accomplish that, then I could cement myself in history as basically one of the best to ever do it. So I've always had that goal. I think that's driven me a lot, basically saying that, hey, I think you're good enough to win the Miss Olympia one day, And if I could accomplish that goal, that's the win in my book, yes.
You will.
Yeah.
So the next question is, what's your mental approach to handling fatigue, burnout, and overtraining? Let's say you woke up and not in the mood to go to the gym. You're tired. How do you stay motivated, focused, and consistent?
Well, I would have to drink a lot of caffeine. And I feel sometimes when you're tired and not motivated, just get into the gym and starting off slow and just going through the workout and stuff like that. Sometimes you get the best workouts ever. Because I remember one time I felt a little down and everything like that. And I got to the gym and I was like, I'm not really feeling this. But then I started working out. And that was one of the times I had like one of the best PRs. I think I squatted like 850 that time. Yeah, I squatted like 850 that time. And it started off as a workout where I really didn't want to be in the gym. But by the time the end of the workout was over with, I was like, holy crap, I'm on today, But it didn't feel like that in the beginning at all. So my advice to you, when you feel like that, still take your butt to the gym and still, start off slow and then get yourself into that workout and get yourself into the right mindset and accomplish your goal.
You want it or you don't want it.
Exactly.
You gotta do it.
Yeah.
All right. So then the next question is, which we can actually combine, is about protein. What is the best protein to take as a woman for muscle building? And what are the pros and cons of consuming powder protein, or should stick to natural protein?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. For me, women also, I've tend to stay away from whey protein, which is like the dairy protein, because I feel as an adult, when you're a kid, it's easy to drink milk and, processed milk and stuff like that. But as you get older, it becomes a lot harder to process milk products. So Muscle Meds make this great product called Carnivore, which is all beef protein, and I felt like that has been really helpful with me and most of my clients. I recommend it to them, and they don't have no discomfort, they don't have no upset stomach and stuff like that, and their body's able to process that protein a lot better.
It's powdered?
Yes, powdered beef protein, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's like
that's eating a steak, pretty
it's
much.
the same, like you mix it with the water,
and
but
stuff like
it's
that.
just made from beef. I didn't
Exactly,
know that.
yeah. And I think that, to me, that works a lot better than the whey protein.
And okay, so we stick into natural protein instead of
Yeah.
powdered. You're not a big fan of the
well, I'm not a big fan of the whey protein, but as far as like the carnivore, the beef protein, I'm a big advocate for that. You know, I feel like the body processes a lot better. You know, and you don't have that discomfort. You don't have upset stomachs because it's 100% lactose free. Yeah.
So the next question we have, it's about the tape. As you already mentioned it, but it's so much on your social media. So does it actually work? The kinetic tapes on your body, what is it for, and does it actually work?
Well, I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. It definitely works. I swear by it. You know, after having my shoulder surgery, I was a little bit hesitant to lift heavy and stuff like that, and it's basically helped me to get over that fear. And it's also helped me to stabilize those muscles better because it's like an anchor from your chest muscle to your shoulder muscle. So it's a lot more stability and stuff like that. So it definitely works. You definitely see benefit from it. And I've been answering that question so many times on social media. No, I don't have no, you know, I overcome an injury, but at the same time, I'm still trying to prevent future injuries. And that's one of the ways I've been able to do that. Still go to the gym, still feel comfortable lifting heavy, but at the same time have that added protection where I know that, you know, everything is basically tight and hold together. So I don't end up tearing something and stuff like that.
So was the kinetic tape actually advice from your physical therapist?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Some of the times, especially once the shoulder surgery was done and we got back into the gym, he started taping me up and stuff like that. And one thing led to the next, and I'm like, oh, this feels really good. Like my shoulders feel great. And then I just started using it and I never stopped, you know? And it's been like a staple to me right now, to the point where sometimes I go to the gym and I forgot to put it on. I'm like, oh, shit. You know, sometimes it's just a mental block. You know?
So I just wanted to say, if you guys have questions for Akim, you can leave them in the comment section. I will pin the top comment and you can just comment your questions for Akim. And then in a few months, we will get back with Akim to the studio and he will reply on your questions, on some of them, on the good ones. He will choose the good ones, okay?
They don't have to all be positive. You could be negative too, you know. At the end of the day, you put yourself in a public spotlight, you know, you expect to have both negative and positive comments. So you can't just shy away from all the negative and just address the positive. They come hand in hand, and that's what makes you grow as a person. You know, where you could respond to like negative comments or positive comments, and you could take it and basically learn from it and grow as a person. That's how I view it.
Well, thank you, Akim, for coming today.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And we'll hope to see you soon.